Oh, hello, and a very good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our Lyceum evening, coming to you from the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church down on the south coast of England. We've gone to the other end of the country tonight to the wonderful Wendy Lyon, who is a diploma holder with the Spiritualist National Union and also an officiant within the union. Wendy, very good evening to you.
Good evening, Lawrence.
Wonderful for you to join us. We were just discussing beforehand where to go with tonight's topic. And Wendy has come up with these wonderful memories, absolutely wonderful. It's fair to say there's always been an awareness around you from a very young age, but it wasn't until a little bit later that actually things started to get moving and motivated and the education side come in. Would that be a fair summary?
You're breaking up a little bit, Lawrence. But
Oh, sorry. Yes, so we were just talking. And in 1998 and 1999, you went to the Arthur Findlay College, but not in the
yes,
role that we're used to people saying they go to the college. Is that correct?
it isn't. It is indeed. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I actually went to the college for the first time in 1998 with my husband, and we went as bagpipers, and we returned the following year in 1999, again as bagpipers for the Highland Week. So that was not in the role that I take now for working at the college.
Absolutely wonderful. Just to let everybody know, we are having a couple of technical issues with sound tonight. So apologies for that, but it's one of those things. But I'm sure we're going to have a wonderful evening. But so when you went there as pipers, you weren't looking to develop any form of mediumship at all, were you not?
hmm
And then you met a wonderful lady called Mary Duffy, correct?
Oh no, that was really the last thing in my mind. Although I had been exploring healing, I had done some psychic art, but really just at home. I wasn't thinking about mediumship. I went there just to play the bagpipes with my husband, but we were fortunate enough to have people like Heather and Eric Hatton there, and we actually piped them down the aisle of the sanctuary at the Wednesday service. So that was quite an experience for everyone. And Mary Duffy was there, and she did encourage me to take part in an exercise in the library. And I sat there with my uniform, with my kilt on, but really I didn't have much idea of what I was doing. Mary was very enthusiastic, and she did promise me I would come back as a working medium. I wasn't convinced, so I just accepted what she said and really forgot about it, to be honest, Lawrence.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's wonderful what
Yeah.
we could describe as coincidence, but it isn't, is it? These happenings. So you had
No,
that interest, not at all.
not at all. Because Yeah, because one of the things that happened, Mary encouraged me to work with a Dutch lady who I've since found out has passed to spirit. And she asked me to do a psychic reading and blending with her energy, auroric field. And could I describe these things? And I really didn't know anything about it. So it really was. It didn't work very well, but Fina was very successful. And so again, the people that I met there, there was another lovely gentleman I met, and the thing about the college, when you go to the college for the first time, whether you're a stranger or you've been before, you meet people, and because often it's the same people who are there all the time. And there's something about the college that just together. And um, and that was the first real experience, I think I could say, where I tried to work with supportive teachers. Mary Duffy was an incredible medium, but I just didn't have that understanding. I didn't have the training, and I certainly didn't have the knowledge.
Yeah, but that underpins, doesn't it, this need for good, solid education within our movement. And not only the solid basis of education, but also those supportive tutors, teachers, mentors, circle leaders, to give us that grounding, even if it's
Absolutely.
a bit of a challenge at times. And I believe, yeah, challenge is good. You know you're working when you're being
Yeah.
challenged. But yeah, that's absolutely wonderful.
Of course. Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
went on to become one of the first intake on
Yeah.
the Gordon Higginson Scholarship. Yep.
I was indeed. And um, okay, I was so proud of that with my colleagues, Darren Orlowski and Debbie Morley, wonderful, wonderful friends. And we won the first Gordon Higginson Memorial Scholarship in 2013. And this was when I returned to the college, as Mary had foreseen, as a working medium, because by this time I'd gone through the PASS system. And I was working towards my CSNU in demonstrating and speaking. And I came back to the college very enthusiastic, very, very excited. And one of the things we were encouraged to do with the scholarship was go through the education system. I had already started through the PASS, and I was doing the SD1 at the time, which was the course that you did for the platform accreditation scheme. But once I started to look into the education through the different courses that were available at that time, I found that the more you did, the more you wanted to learn. And by typing the essays, there were distant courses, and we would have a final exam with some of them. But the more you began to study, the more you began to realize that spiritualism, it's not just about messages. There is the philosophy, we have our prayers, it's a way of life. And I really became so enthusiastic about education, but also about development. And it made me realize just how important that is. And it's not just about going on one or two courses, but it's learning the theory and then putting in the practice. It's taking time to study pioneers and those who have gone on before us, and building up that strength within our mediumship and within our philosophy, but building the connection with spirit. And to me, that's what spiritualism is about. It's about living this wonderful truth as a way of life, not only as a religion, which obviously it is with me, but it's about finding ways of bringing hope to people, bringing this truth to people, because I feel it brings such a comfort to people's lives, through that understanding that when their loved one has passed to spirit, that there is still that continued connection, albeit in a different way.
Definitely. And you touch on something there that's become very close to my thoughts and my heart at this time, about the actual development and unfoldment of the medium themselves. Because I do feel that this may have been neglected a wee bit in the past.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I think so, and I think sometimes, certainly when I realised I could connect to my loved ones or mediums could connect to them, I wanted to rush on ahead and make this development, make it stronger. But what I came to realise very quickly, when we have our own personal issues, which all of us have, we have to take time to go into that power within ourselves and perhaps not heal all of our issues, but certainly look at some of them and take time within that unfoldment to let go of things which maybe we don't need to hold on to anymore, but really be honest with ourselves. And
Mm.
I don't think that's something that can happen overnight. And many people have told me with their own development that they have not always taken that time, but you have to go back to it. I honestly believe that if you take that time within the unfoldment of your own spiritual understanding, of your own spirit, of your own power, then it enhances what you do. And maybe it gives you a greater motivation because you're coming from a place where you've understood the pains of the physical life, but also recognize the power of the eternal life and how that can influence us through our daily reflections. In fact, when I think back, the beginning, because I was trying to think, after I'd been to the college, one of the main points that really was a point of interest with me was healing. And I remember in September 2000, a friend of mine was diagnosed with cancer. And that was the motivation, that very day, to begin my first healing book. And I can remember not really knowing what I was doing, but writing people's names down, lighting a candle, but focusing on the love that I could send, if I could send any, but connecting to that wonderful power we call God, connecting to the power of spirit and asking them to bring healing. And I would sit every day with my healing book and my candle. And I believe, although I didn't realize it at the time, that this was part of my development because I was sitting in that power of healing where I was trying to build love. And, we think, well, what is love? How do I know if I've built love successfully? But this genuine desire to try to send healing to my friend, but also other people within my family. And then I would start hearing about people that weren't well. So I would write their names down. And I that became my passion to build that power to give to the people I cared about. And, and my mum was a healer. She's retired now. And my aunt was also a healer. She's also retired. And, as my development went on, I sat with my mum. Actually, for 7 years we sat. And mum had a special room dedicated to her healing. And we would sit every single week without fail, except for Christmas and New Year. But we sat every Monday night and we lit the candle, we opened in prayer to Spirit, and we were trying to build the power with Spirit, but to give it out to where it was needed. And we didn't know who needed that love and support, but we trusted that Spirit did. And for me, although neither of us were giving each other messages, it wasn't about that. It was about blending in the power, becoming the power, but doing it to send that love to people that needed it. And as I said, we did that for 7 years. And I feel that that was a huge influence on my development because it was about the discipline. It was the discipline about imagining our room was filled with love and with that light. So we were creating the positivity. But because we would sit sometimes an hour, sometimes a bit more than that, and we would just sit in that silence with no music, but we just sat in that stillness. And I feel that that helped me in many ways to become more sensitive to spirit. And I know that everybody's got a different journey, but that was a huge influence in mine.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. And it does go to show it is about dedication. Um, we need. It's very easy to get swept along with the claims and counterclaims and things being said on our social media world. And there's quite a lot of negativity about people, you know, oh, they've had one lesson, they're up on the platform, yada, yada, yada. But I've always found it is dedication. I mean, I was sitting in circle for 8 years before I even dared go anywhere near a platform. And that was on a very short leash with my last tutor. And I mean, at that time, I was working night shifts. So some days would be fine because it would be a day off. Other days, the circle was at 2 and I got in from work at 7 in the morning. So I had to quickly go to bed and quickly wake up for 1 o'clock and sit there trying to be alert and awake. But it does pay off. This dedication does pay off, and it is a labor of love and of time. Very much so. I've been talking, we've had a circle running here for the last 10 weeks. I run them in 10-week blocks now to allow things to settle in between, give me a night off. And I said to them, reminded them, you know, you must be working on this at home. You're only with me 15 hours, and that is not going to make you a medium. You must continue to work yourself. Yeah. And again, with the healing.
One of the things I found when I started sitting for healing, you would say, doing that absent healing and sitting in the power, although I wasn't really aware of what I was doing. I found at first it was difficult because, you know, your mind gets in the way, you're distracted, any noises. But over time, what I found was that helped me get through my everyday sitting in that stillness. And I was sitting every day throughout the week because I had the quietness of the house, my children were at school, so I was able to sit. And then later on, I would sit at night when everybody had gone to bed. But it was the connection. And I think what's important when you have made that connection and you've been touched by the power of spirit, there's something so comforting and reassuring genuinely touched at that soul level, it changes your life. It really does. And then you begin to realize that that power gives you the strength to overcome everything that you have to go through. That power, although it's invisible, it's this. I think faith is probably the wrong word, but a truth and it's a belief, and it becomes so ingrained within us that there's no question, for me anyway, that it has been life changing. It's made me a completely different person from the person I was in 1998, and I hopefully a better one. But of course, we have our flaws. We're human, and this is part of our earthly journey that we have to learn along the way. But I think that when you know there is that continued life, you know that your loved ones are still part of it, then maybe it makes you try to live your life in a very different way. So for me, that was the beginning. And as I was sitting in that state of power, I used to find that inspiration would come to me. So then I started to do inspirational writing. And I've done that for many, many years. And I have books and books of writings that I've done, which no one's seen. But it started off again as a discipline because I didn't feel I was good enough to write. I hadn't always been good at school. But when you're being inspired by that incredible power, it gives you an inner strength, which maybe you can't see when we're looking at our thoughts because they're so limiting. But when you connect in, sometimes some of the things I wrote, I was amazed at because I didn't think I had an ability. But then I began to realize, well, actually, I'm being influenced, I'm being inspired. So it's not about ability, it's about the connection. It's about that bonding with spirit, if you like. And that's what I found, that again, if I was struggling or if I wanted to help someone, the inspiration would come. And actually, it was the brainchild many years ago, almost coming up for 9 years now, that I had this thought as discipline, that every day I wanted to spend some time sending out a positive thought to someone. So I created my daily text messages. And initially, I only had one or two people. They didn't really think, I don't know about that. But every day I had to get up earlier to send a positive thought, just a bit of inspiration, just a few sentences. And I've done that for 9 years. And I've never missed a day. So I still do it. And now I've progressed slightly with technology. I'm able to put a photograph in the WhatsApp pictures as well. So I've got a group, several groups of people that I've sent that message out to every day. But it started with me challenging myself to be disciplined because my work environment changed. So I wasn't always able to sit as much as I wanted to. So I thought, I need to be focused. So this was a way of sitting, blending with spirit, writing that little bit of inspiration and sending it to people, because some of my friends that, were willing to accept this message, they were widows. And I knew that they didn't always get lots of messages. So it was a way of reaching out to ensure that at least one person had sent them a message every day. And it was just something I started. It was challenging in the beginning, I have to say, to get up earlier, especially in the colder days. But, very quickly, that became a way of life. And now it's just the first thing that I do in the morning. I send out my message. So again, it's little things. I think sometimes being a spiritualist, it's not just about something you do on a Sunday. It's something that you do connecting to that power, reaching out within your community. Now, it might be a community, in this case, through a text message, through a WhatsApp message. But nevertheless, it's trying to reach out with that positive message inspired by spirit to give people hope. And I go back to that word hope again, because for me, that is what spiritualism is. It's living with hope, with that truth, with that reality that we're not alone and one day we'll meet our loved ones. And I think if you can take away the fear of dying, then all that's left is the fear of living. So it's trying to make the best out of what you have now, because in this life we're creating our memories. That's the legacy that we take to spirit, and that's the legacy we leave behind. So we're not going to be perfect, but I think if you do your best and you try to be compassionate, if you try to be kind, then that's all anybody can ask of you. So that was again, the synchronicity with spirit, writing this little bit of inspiration. Sometimes I write a page, but where spirit encouraged me to share that philosophy, because when I started, I didn't want to go up on a platform and speak about philosophy. I really didn't have the courage to do that. Mediumship, I felt, was coming from spirit. So you were being the narrator for someone's loved one. That to me somehow seemed easier. Whereas within the philosophy, it was that message coming from deep within. Now I would say I love philosophy. It's one of my greatest passions. I love it because once you understand that life is continuous, then what is there? We need that message of hope. So here we have the philosophy that's speaking about what we believe, speaking about what we do, speaking about everything within our spiritual values, and bringing in aspects of teaching. So for me, the philosophy is so important within our religion, as well as the mediumship. It's there. It's so many facets, and I think often with people, they overlook all these wonderful gifts that is part of our understanding. They overlook that and maybe only focus on one aspect within the mediumship. But for me, there's many strands within that. And I think when we bring them all together, we have something that is incredible and is life changing.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. My approach to teaching here has shifted because of what I'm seeing out there on the platforms, on our virtual platforms.
You're breaking up again, Lawrence.
Okay. So I was just saying, my teaching has shifted because of what I'm seeing in today's world in spiritualism. And when I use the term mediumship to any of my circle sitters or indeed the congregation, the mediumship encompasses the triumvirate. So we have the evidential mediumship, the inspired speaking, and the healing. Because those three work in unison together. They all support and complement each other. It's a bit like making a sandwich. Now, I like simple things, so we're going to go for the sandwich. But it brings it all together. And you said something there, and I just had a thought. When you were saying about the inspired speaking, and that's about living life. Okay, we've proven we don't die. So what next? And this is where the inspiration comes in, about living this life to its best and understanding times can be challenging. Well, if we don't have a challenge, we can't rise to it, can we?
Feared now, Lawrence. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a few comments coming in. Lovely Stephen Bird giving his thanks. Just saying thanks for the start you gave me. And Margaret Challenger. And wonderful to hear you speak, Wendy, and love your view on discipline and the morning roll call.
Oh, Margaret's wonderful, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I do love your passion, because this is where on these evenings, when we have these wonderful speakers, the passion coming through is evident, and you can just hear it. I've watched you, and I've been in a couple of your services online, and I've seen and experienced your roundness between the philosophy, between the speaking, between the evidential. It's just been a real joy to see, a real joy. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. But, again, Lawrence, I think when you are allowed to take on this role of an ambassador for spirit, the joy comes from reuniting the two worlds. And when you can see someone perhaps who's very upset and maybe they've lost that passion and hope, and when you see the impact evidence has that they know my loved one is still part of my life, that love for me is tangible. And I get so excited by that. And it does make me feel very passionate, because you know that you're making a difference. And I believe that spiritualism can make a difference. And not that we are told to do certain things, but where we can explore the potential bit by bit. And, we can have that unfoldment at a personal level. I mean, you spoke about earlier the challenges that we have to go through. And, we've all come through the COVID pandemic. And that really was a dreadful, dreadful time. And, we had to close our churches, we had to, we had to stay in our houses. And it was a time of great loneliness and a time of great fear. And yet, for me, that was the time when online opportunities became very possible. That was the time when I started to teach on SNUI, when I became part of their committee doing their education. But suddenly, this world was opened up where I could travel to churches all over the world and be part of spiritual communities. Now, I know that Margaret Challenger texted earlier, and she's got a wonderful community that they started, and people from all over the world that perhaps can't go to a church. Maybe there's not a church in their area. Maybe they're or whatever that reason is. But now we have a new opportunity when we can reach out all over the world and bring that joy of spirit to them. And for me, that was but suddenly go to places in England and Wales and Canada, just all over. And it was just incredible because it then opened my eyes to the churches that I've never been to, maybe won't go to, but the people there became friends. And certainly on SNUI, it was the international branch, people from all over the world. And what we begin to realize, sometimes we feel isolated, perhaps even alone in our own little world, living our own little experience. And we open our minds or go through that internet opportunity, and then we meet like-minded people. And what I found when I became involved in that community, not only were they like-minded people, but it was people with ideas about spiritualism. They had their own stories to tell, and you became passionate with them as well, because we wanted to promote our religion. And whether it was through the philosophy, there were so many healing opportunities, and I know there still are, but I know friends that didn't really have churches in their area but would join SNUI or would come to other churches that maybe I was serving, but they then became friends within those churches as well, and they became part of that community. And I think from what really was such a dreadful, frightening time for all of us because the world shut down, spirit didn't shut down. And maybe in a way, spirit opened us up. Now, I would never have foreseen that I would be working on churches on Zoom. That was something I'd never actually worked Zoom, to be honest. So it was a bit frightening. But suddenly we realized that that power of spirit finds a way to work, whether it is live, whether it's in person, in our churches, in our community centres, or whether it is online, Spirit find a way. And for me, again, that message of hope, it's been my theme of tonight, but that shone through so brightly. And sometimes it was me that needed the healing. Sometimes it was me that needed that support because of circumstances I was going through. And I realized that, people sending that love, it makes a difference. It really does. And it's life changing. So again, within our spiritual community, there is a fellowship. And I felt that it was putting spirit in action, if you like, focusing on the potential of what we could be. Even if we didn't have the circumstances around us, we could find a way. And I wonder if Spirit worked hand in hand with us to say, don't give up hope because we are still here and we will link you to the people who need you. And whether that was through the teaching as well, because as I said, I started to teach on SNUI at that time. And suddenly you know, you could speak to people all over the world in different time zones, but all of them were coming together to learn about spiritualism, to learn about our philosophy, to learn about that development. And as the education on coordinator on SNUI, I've been so privileged to work with wonderful tutors that are bringing these ideas, you know, with their healing, with their philosophy, with their writing, with their mediumship. And it's wonderful because there is opportunities for everyone at whatever level they are at. You
Yeah.
know, so it's been wonderful. And of course, going back to the Arthur Findlay College, which I'm now a tutor of, that perhaps one of my greatest moments, such a proud moment to be able to bring that um, teaching to the college, where again students are coming from all over the world, and a wonderful, wonderful sanctuary, touched by our pioneers, and of course the influence that Gordon Higginson had, and that connection, albeit a loose connection through the scholarship, but to me it was the connection with the pioneers. And I think one of the things you learn very quickly when you read about our pioneers, it is the passion that they had, it's the sacrifices that they made so that our religion, our truth could have the freedom, if you like, that it has today. And I think when you are inspired by these people, the need to keep the traditional values, but recognize that we're in a different society. So to allow that society to unfold, but just keeping that dignity. Dignity is a word I feel about my religion
Yeah.
because it means so much to me, and respect, you know, for that power, for the people who made our opportunities a reality. Because if they hadn't been inspired, and at that time, when they faced so much prejudice, they faced so many challenges, but they were driven, and I'm convinced they were driven through the power of spirit, their own spirit and the spirit world. I'm convinced of it. And it's just such an incredible power, and it can do so much good.
When we go back through the history of spiritualism, there's always these major turning points. The Fox sisters, suddenly we were public. Suddenly there was this interest. Then we go to turn of the century England, where it just exploded, with some people as a novelty. Some people came in to disprove it and ended up being ardent spiritualists and mediums themselves. And again, with the Gordon Higginson era and the setting up of the AFC, another big turning point. And in our lifetime now, we've had this turning point where 2020, where we suddenly the mantle of what we could do as mediums was opened up. It was we were maybe a little bit too close to the subject and not looking at a bigger picture. I always remember here in the church when before the lockdown, but obviously something was going on, I put in other aisles, and somebody said to me, well, that's no good because spirit can't get across that gap. And I thought, well, if spirit can't get across a 2-foot gap, then I think they can. But now they can cross thousands of miles. You know, just today I've been invited out to the first church in Gaul, which is absolutely wonderful, and serving other churches in Canada. You're talking to people thousands of miles away, and that continuity of life is not only proven through the evidence that is supported, but by our physical connection with that person. How amazing is that? You know,
Yeah,
I think sometimes we lose the
absolutely.
awe.
You know,
Yeah. So a few comments coming in here. Lovely.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, you know, now I think perhaps we benefit because we know about the different the ways of connecting to spirit.
Yes. Sorry, because of the little pauses, I'm not sure if you finished.
Just a pity that we keep breaking up, Lawrence, and I can't hear your sentences.
I've got the same here.
I maybe need to tune into what you're thinking. I'll just keep speaking now. How we've learned in so many ways, it's so much easier for us because it's been accepted. But when we think back, you spoke about the Fox sisters, how terrifying that must have been for them, and how time consuming it we see spirit, but where we're working at a faster energy. And I wonder if we were to go back to that period in the Fox sisters with that physical mediumship and the raps and the knockings, how many mediums would be dedicated and focused to work through that and to sit in that power to build that. I don't know if I could have done that. Maybe I could, but it must have been quite frightening then. Whereas now we have a greater understanding. We have evolved, and I believe that we've evolved teachings of spirit. But going back to me in 1998, 99, yes, I knew about spirit. I'd had messages, but I was a bit scared of it. And, you know, sometimes you think, oh, I can see why people might be slightly afraid when they first come into spirit. So again, where you've studied and you've taken time for that development, then one of the things you can do is put people at ease. And certainly when I'm teaching, that's something that I really am very focused on. I think if you can create that safe space, people will be more willing to step beyond the boundaries of what they have known or even what they fear, to allow that love from spirit to touch their heart, move into that energy with our loved ones, you to relax into it, because you are creating a space for a reunion. You are creating a place that you can come together with the people that have inspired and motivated you. And that is life-changing because it gives you the courage to go on with your own life, even.
Oops. And apologies there, everybody. We seem to have lost that connection. As you can see, we're having a few issues today. Hopefully, Wendy may realise she's no longer online and rejoin us. But in the meantime... oh, there we go. Here we go. Yes, Ashley, it is a shame. The link is being really, really difficult tonight. We've not had this problem.
Internet problem.
Hello. Sorry, my dear, you disappeared.
It's very...
So, I do apologise. You've probably been sat there chatting away quite merrily to yourself. Never mind. We do have a few comments coming in, which is always wonderful. The lady here from Ireland, who was...
Can you still hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you fine. Nod your head if you can hear me. And we've gone again. That is a shame. That really is a shame. Yeah, yes, Lorna. There does seem to be a bit of a issue that end. Never mind. So, fingers crossed, she may rejoin us. You don't have this problem on a live stage, do you? Hello! You're back. Are you back? Can you speak, Wendy? Wendy! Can you hear me, Wendy? No, it's gone. Ah, that is such a shame. That really is a shame. Little lesson there, everybody. Wi-Fi is not always the best option for linking on the internet. Yes, very funny, Reverend Ashley. Yes, it is very true. So I think we may just have one more go. Wendy will try. It's not helping if she's not talking though, because I don't know if she can hear us or not. Never mind. Never mind. No, it does seem like we have actually lost Wendy. So apologies for that, everybody. That is such a shame. I was really enjoying that. She is a lovely, lovely lady. We did meet briefly at the open weekend at the college, and all I remember was within a minute of meeting, we were absolutely laughing like hyenas about different things. So absolutely beautiful lady, and such a shame, such a shame. Oh, hold on. Here we go. One more time. Go on. Can you hear us, Wendy? Yes or no?
Ah.
Hello. Wendy,
Right. Can you hear me again, Lawrence?
Yes, we can. Hello.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can. We
Yes.
can hear you.
Yes.
Wonderful. Very quickly, going to go to some of the comments coming in because there's a lot of support out there.
It's not letting me change my microphone settings.
Well, that's all right. We can hear you, so there shouldn't be any need to. We can hear you talking, so the microphone's working fine. Nope. Right. Such a shame. Do apologise for this, ladies and gents. We haven't had this for quite a while. Apologies to all those people who put wonderful comments in there and questions. Yeah, such a shame. But we will be back next week. And we have live here with us, so no internet connection next week. We have the lovely Frederick Hagland. Tomorrow, you can watch a service live from Paul Church at 11 a.m. BST. And we have Elaine Bevan, and she'll be taking a Lyceum service. So instead of the traditional part about the philosophy, we will be hearing a segment about the history of one aspect or one persona within spiritualism. So wonderful service, full of facts, information, and of course at this time with communication as well. So no, Margaret, I could not sing because that would get everybody taken off air straight away. Oh, we're back. One more go. This is the last go. Sorry. Hello. Talk to me.
Our friend tonight.
Oh, not to worry. Not to
There
worry,
we go.
darling. I'd like quickly to go over some of the comments because I don't like to leave people hanging. So there's a lady here from Ireland who was at the AFC with you in August and just saying, what a beautiful tutor. And she was lucky to have you. Wendy, you need to talk, darling. We can hear you. So Lorna Harper, who I know is in the same town as you, is that correct? Answer me. No, right, okay, that's it. Again, apologies to everybody online tonight. Thank you, Lorna. I don't know what's going on. I can't hear anybody talking if they're not talking. I don't quite understand, but never mind, never mind. As I say, in the meantime, next week we have Frederick Hagland. He is here live with us. So we will not have these issues. And yeah, apologies for cutting short tonight. Anyway, have a wonderful evening, everybody. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and stay happy.